Tonight, Poetry Cow will be reading something different. No poetry tonight, but rather something which will either interest you, or, more likely, help put you to sleep. In any case, tonight, Poetry Cow will be reading from Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. Starting with the introduction, Poetry Cow will skip over the prefaces and will begin with the first section of the introduction. The distinction between pure and empirical knowledge. There can be no doubt that all our knowledge begins with experience, for how should our faculty of knowledge be awakened into action did not objects affecting our senses, partly of themselves, produce representations, partly arouse the activity of our understanding to compare these representations, and by combining or separating them, work up the raw material of the sensible impressions into that knowledge of objects which is entitled experience. In the order of time, therefore, we have no knowledge antecedent to experience, and with experience all our knowledge begins. But though all our knowledge begins with experience, it does not follow that it all arises out of experience. For it may well be that even our empirical knowledge is made up of what we receive through impressions, and of what our own faculty of knowledge, sensible impressions serving merely as the occasion, supplies from itself. If our faculty of knowledge makes any such addition, it may be that we are not in a position to distinguish it from the raw material, until with long practice of attention we have become skilled in separating it. This, then, is a question which at least calls for closer examination, and does not allow of any offhand answer, whether there is any knowledge that is thus independent of experience, and even of all impressions of the senses. Such knowledge is entitled a priori, and distinguished from the empirical, which has its sources a posteriori, that is, in experience. The expression a priori does not, however, indicate with sufficient precision the full meaning of our question, for it has been customary to say, even of much knowledge that is derived from empirical sources, that we have it or are capable of having it a priori, meaning, therefore, that we do not derive it immediately from experience, but from a universal rule, a rule which is itself, however, borrowed by us from experience. Thus we would say of a man who undermined the foundations of his house, that he might have known a priori that it would fall, that is, that he need not have waited for the experience of its actual falling. But still he could not know this completely a priori, for he had first to learn through experience that bodies are heavy, and therefore fall when their supports are withdrawn. In what follows, therefore, we shall understand by a priori knowledge, not knowledge independent of this or that experience, but knowledge absolutely independent of all experience. Opposed to it is empirical knowledge, which is knowledge possible only a posteriori, that is, through experience. A priori modes of knowledge are entitled pure when there is no admixture of anything empirical. Thus, for instance, the proposition, every alteration has its cause, while an a priori proposition is not a pure proposition, because alteration is a concept which can only be derived from experience. That's section 1 from the introduction. Next time, Poetry Cow may read section 2. We are in possession of certain modes of a priori knowledge, and even the common understanding is never without them. So, while you look forward to that with great anticipation, Poetry Cow will take leave for the night.